Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm in Brazil and we're gonna transform this into this is a Formosana juniper grafted itoigawa. Originally a very simple material, straight trunk, lot of branches. So what we did was to graft some branches of itoigawa along the trunk, and the goal of today is basically to take out the best from this tree, try to give it a nice character, even for its simple shape and its simple look. I think we can create a nice bonsai. So I wanna drive you all the way along the different operation that we're gonna do to transform this material. Now that the approach graft are nice and strong and the new foliage is growing well, we can remove the original long branches of the Formosana, and we just keep some part to transform into gin. I always cut the branches a little bit longer than necessary, so I have enough space to create my gin. So all the original foliage can be eliminated, and we just keep the nice itoigawa foliage. Okay, so now the next step will be transforming all this stump into nice and beautiful gin. As always, the first operation when we approach deadwood, especially on a young tree that we have to create character, is peeling out the bark from the branches that were still alive. So those were the branches we remove originally. So now we peel out the bark and then using a concave cutter and a plier, we start breaking down the wood. Because the wood is still nice and fresh, it's very easy to break the fibers and create natural lines. So I always like to start with long pieces of deadwood and break them down, creating a natural look. This is the goal of this type of work. So starting outside and breaking the fibers inside, always changing our tool according to the type of work. So gin, plier, concave cutter and bark splitter. Kainan is my assistant on this work, my student from Brazil, and is doing a very good job on this task. So what we want to do, take care of every single piece of deadwood to create the more natural gin possible. Detail is very important in this work because obviously the tree is very young, we need to create character, and a big part of creating character is about creating a good looking deadwood. At this point, all the original branches were transformed into gin. As you can see, we kept for the moment kind of a long gin. The goal is when we're gonna create the new foliage, we will frame the gin with the new green and have some parts sticking out, and still at the end of the work we could also readjust the length on all of them. Now the next step after cleaning the superficial bark will be to work on this lower part where some original branches were removed, transform also this area in a gin, and using a chalk I will start marking some of the shari line to try to highlight some live line, especially in this central area of the trunk that is very cylindrical and straight. I always start the shari work from some area that is not active, like for example these old branches. For sure the inner section here, even if it's probably still a little bit alive, is not active. And then also from an area like this one, I can start coming down towards the front, and what I want to do is slowly create a little bit of a moving line in the side of this straight area. Obviously I can't create a twisted line, but by moving this section here, and then from this area you can go a little bit on top, and then from here side down. In time I can highlight a little bit this movement of the live line, also dividing this section in two and giving a little bit the feeling of the twist of this area. Also from here I can create a little bit more shari connecting here. Okay, and also from this area I can go down. Okay, now using the double blade knife, we're gonna mark the outside edge of this shari and remove all the bark. After that, we're gonna do some more consideration about the foliage. The manipulation on the fibers in a young juniper especially is something that we have to do in order to create age and character in a young material, especially on a tree like this where basically the tree trunk is very straight and boring. We have to add part of deadwood and shari in order to create some movement. Thanks to the fact the tree is young, the fiber and the cell of the wood are not only able to move sap and energy up vertically, but they still have a nice connection sideways. So we can a little bit move the shari line, twisting around the fiber to give us some slide movement, and these obviously help a lot in case we have to solve, like in this image, a straight part of the trunk, creating multiple line moving, in this case, from the right side to the left side of the trunk. These along the years, with the development on the live line and the live line rounding up, that will create a nice little transition that will add very good movement and character to the trunk. Also, this area on the base of the tree, that was probably an area selected a long time ago, where we still have some little pieces of wood, we can, using the correct tools, transform in a nice focal point of transition between the base and the section of the trunk. So now with the help of Kainan, we just finish up all the work on the shari line, and I also took care of transforming those two ugly stumps from the original branches into two little gin connected to the shari. So in the future, the live line could develop nicely. Obviously, something very important to remember that when we do serious shari work on a tree, even if the tree is nice, young and strong, now that we're gonna set the branches in position with the wire, we don't wanna prune the foliage heavily, because we need the foliage nice and strong to keep calling energy from the roots, so the live line will keep thicking up and in the ear getting nice and round. This is very, very important. Now I will gonna do a brief cleaning of the branches, removing some little branches from the crotch, eventually something that is underneath, and something that is maybe dry, and then we're gonna perform the wiring before positioning the foliage. I do a quick cleaning before the wiring. This is very important to remove on junipers extra branches coming from the crutches, dead branches inside, or eventually even some branches that are growing under the main branch, and obviously they are not useful to perform photosynthesis and after we're gonna make the nice pads.
Agora, pessoal, vamos aramar a árvore.
Now that everything is perfectly wired, we can start from the lower branch, set the pad, create the level, create the rhythm, and working our way up to the top. The goal is to create a nice and compact, elegant tree around the simple trunk, covering a little bit some part and showing some interesting feature. Okay, so let's start from the first branch and we go up to the top. Here I show you the easy way how we wire a branch from inside outside. First of all the structure, then the secondary branches 2 by 2. Always thinking at the direction and the connection. Very, very simple. I always sit in front of the tree, starting from the lower branch, my sashieda. So in this case, I push down the branch using a guide wire, and then slowly I open up the secondary branches in order to create the structure. So always the branch go down and as a fan open up, obviously to perform the solar panel, the photosynthesis, but also in terms of aesthetic to create my first line. So I leave a little bit the longer line for the strength. I open up every single little branch in order to create a nice little triangle, and I work my way up like a spiral along the tree, pushing down the branches nicely and create all the nice layer. In this case, I push a branch back, I have a negative space, so in that position I want to create depth. So I always recheck and recontrol the position of my branches while I work my way up. Now is the time to position the right branch. I want to create a nice pad basically framing that hanging down gene, and also a piece of the green in front of the trunk in order to connect the left green with the pads in the right side. This is very important in order to create a rhythm in the shape of the tree, and as you can see, lines. Now is the turn of the apex, so using the wire and a guide wire, we bend the whip around the tangent, move down some other branches, creating my left side, and waiting the end to compact down the apex, basically following up our left line together with the right line, finish up my nice apex around the apical part that will be basically the top connection of the two right and left lines of the tree. Also in this case I keep a lot of foliage in order to keep the tree strong, be nice, and obviously aesthetically find a final nice result. Little final touches to have everything looking good, and we can consider the work done. And here we are with the final product. We compress the good foliage of the itoigawa around the trunk. The trunk is simple, the shaping is nice and clean, a moyoji style. We try to a little bit start highlighting some of the living veins that we select from the trunk. They will be developing in the future. Also the foliage probably we're gonna go and compress more. The green is a little bit overextended, but because we want energy in the foliage, we push down the apex, creating a nice round crown here. I also remove some of the length from this jean. They were a little bit too long, but obviously I couldn't know before the styling, but now everything is nice and proportioned. And obviously every time we style a tree for the first time, we have to imagine that during the maturing process of the tree, we're gonna gain at least another half of the volume of the pad, more maturity, more subdivision. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I did this project because it's the typical material every one of us can go on a nursery, find an easy and simple juniper, graft itoigawa, approach graft. This has only 4 approach graft itoigawa for a couple of years, and then start our own masterpiece. Remember, work with passion and you're gonna get a good result. Thank you so much for watching this video. See you at the next. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. And as you could see, the wiring is one of the most important technique when we do bonsai. So if you want to get better on your wiring, you can purchase my book, and there is a complete article when I explain all the secret about this technique, and you can get your wiring better. So send me an email for more information, and thank you again.